networking event in February. I've met some really wonderful people, and I'm like, this is really interesting. Why don't I sign up, become a member? And then after that, I went to a professional development committee. They have monthly meetings where they plan out what's coming up, how are we going to organize a special event. So I went to one of the planning meetings. There I heard about some of the female leaders were talking about starting a women's group, and I jumped. I'm like, yes, please sign me up. Yes, I would love to be part of it, and that's how I started getting involved. Yeah.
So in a way, I mean, even though most of the work is very sort of professional and career oriented, I mean, what part of your sort of personal life kind of directed you in a way, shaped you to sort of see this as an opportunity, or to to really think about sort of whether it's a workshop or whether it's members who might be needing certain things?
Sure. A lot of it comes from our members. They let us know what they want to hear, what do they want to learn, what the next workshop might be. So for our women's group, we pretty much go through everyone, what are you interested in learning next, or what are you interested in hearing about at the next meeting.
Okay.
And same thing goes across the board between NAAAP, all committees. It's really about the people. Without the people, we wouldn't be an organization.
To do different things.
Right.
Because I know, again, it's such a huge organization, and so every chapter is probably different.
Yes.
Did you go to the Denver?
No, I didn't. I wish I did.
Okay.
There was some work
conflict to get there. Have they ever come to Boston?
Yes, they are actually coming to Boston in 2000. I want to say either 11 or 12.
Okay, so that's good. Yeah, because it's I think it's another great way to show Boston in terms of when you think of workforce development and what's going on in the city, and introducing other, people to what we have to offer here.
Yeah, and that's another benefit as a member. You don't have to be a leader to go to these national conventions. You actually receive discounts if you are a member to go to these conventions, not just meet other members, as well as a way to meet other leaders from other cities, to make some new friends, to learn something.
Yeah, and I think, do you see some common thread between sort of Boston and other chapters in terms of sometimes what they offer? Like, I know the women's group, for example, it's great because those issues probably travel like city lines in terms of what they might be dealing with. Do you see any?
Yes, the women group, there is some sort of talk about forming a committee, I believe. It's called Women in NAAAP.
Okay.
So there Definitely, I know Chicago chapter is starting a women's group as well.
Oh, nice.
And the committees we have, the 8 committees we have within NAAAP, it's all the same across 25 chapters within, both Canada and the U.S.
Oh, that's great.
So there's definitely a bigger umbrella above just the Boston chapter.
So when you're looking for speakers, how do you go about sort of thinking for workshop or facilitators? Like, is it difficult to really have diversity within the individuals who are coming to speak? Like, I know with the women's group, like, sometimes it's really hard to really think about gender within whether it's a cultural organization or within sort of like ethnic lines. Like, what do you think about when you're looking for people to speak or present to the membership?
We definitely want it to be relevant. It really depends who our audience are. So specifically for the women's group, we tend to try to invite people who have experiences in in the female issues or troubles when it comes to work, or Asian American, because it's probably different than other nationalities. The typical stereotypes. So we try to make that as relevant as possible versus just the regular professional development committee. They get anyone, really, but more targeting what the topic might be versus someone as a speaker per se.
So I know the professional sort of career support is there. Politically, is NAAAP involved, for example, when it comes to leadership within city government or state government? Like, I know, depending on where members are from, a lot of different people running for office. Is that an aspect that come up within your membership this year? Like, I know with the reason for this question is Sam Yoon running in Boston.
Yes.
Does that come up in terms of people sort of wanting to sort of be a leader in a different setting than just work? And
Well, I think a lot of us support the fact that, you know, he is running. We have a great support system, I think. But in terms of if I'm understanding this correctly, does that open doors for us, you mean? Or do you mean, like, does that sort of inspire us to apply for office positions?
I mean, I think it's all of the above because, you know, again, sort of having someone in, whether they're running, regardless of what happened, I always think regardless of the group, whether it's women or people of color, or regardless, like when they run or when they, you know, take the risk and be in such a visible position, they can win and they can inspire others. And so I kind of see it as, even though it's not necessarily career oriented, but it's in a way, do you see that as an opportunity to do some political work or leadership stuff and tie that with the work of NAAAP in Boston, for example?
That's a great idea. No, seriously, I think that's a great idea. It's really inspiring because I think a lot of times within the Asian culture, we're not exactly very outspoken, per se. That's one of the stereotypes. By having these role models who are running for offices, I think that definitely inspires people who, oh, you know, maybe this is something we can do as well.
Yeah, I mean, I think, you know, Yoon is very visible, and so I think, and his base seems to be very diverse. So a lot of time, I think when you're from a particular background, people may think, oh, only people from your community is going to be supporting you, but then thinking sort of broadly that, you know, people
definitely
support the cause, whether, you know, they are part of that community or not, in terms of really having a leader who's going to serve their needs, whether he looks like me or not, is irrelevant. You know what I mean?
Yeah, you know, writing this down will be our next topic for our women's group or one of the professional
or
development.
I mean, I think for the women's group, again, thinking about running, it's another one. It's like, again, you know, Sam Yoon will be a good ally, even though we haven't seen sort of a female Asian American running. But again, it's like just seeing women in that position, regardless of where they're from.
Yeah, completely agree.
And thinking that. So, what do you see NAAAP in the next few years?
We are still learning. We're still improving, like any organization. Again, I think the people, both leaders and members, are the most important asset within NAAAP. From the most recent convention held in Denver, Colorado, we actually won 3 awards.
Oh, that's great.
For Boston chapter, and to name a couple, the Membership Award and Professional Development Award. So going forward, the next 3 years, I can only see great things for now.
Bigger things, better things.
Exactly.
Great.
Exactly.
So let's give your website one more time before we run out of time.
Our website is www.naap, that's NAAAP, boston.org.
Great.
And for our open house, please come check us out. It will be on October 19th from 6 to 9 p.m. at Liberty Mutual in Boston.
Great. Well, thank you for being on the show.
Thank you for having me.
And thank you for watching. We'll be seeing you next time. And check the website. All the dates are on there. And whatever's coming up toward the end of the year as well. So thanks again. And hopefully come back.
Okay, thank you.
I'm Marisa, and I want to talk to you about On the Rise, a nonprofit right here on Broadway that supports women who are homeless or living in crisis. Many of the women who come to On the Rise are dealing with a number of internal and external challenges